I'm Janeane. This is KUCI 88.9 FM in Irvine, and this is Get the Funk Out. Standing by to join me is author Abbey Lee Nash. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Well, you were on my show a long time ago. I've got your book right here.
Yeah.
And my daughter actually read it recently and loved it. And I thought, let me have you back on because I feel like, especially being in the pandemic, there's a lot of issues around mental health, self-care. We're all going through things at so many different ages. And I felt like, people could really resonate with this story.
Yeah, for sure. Especially, dealing with the topic of substance abuse. That is certainly seeing a rise during the pandemic as people are dealing with depression and anxiety and isolation and not necessarily having, tools available to help deal with those things.
Yeah. Let's back up because I wanted to ask you how you became a writer. Like, were you always writing when you were younger?
So my first experience with writing, I like to tell people that my grandmother prompted my writing career as she gave me my first journal in second grade.
I love that.
And started me on a journaling process that, that is still a very important part of my writing life. I journal just about every morning. But recently, my parents are about to retire and are looking into doing some traveling and sort of cleaning out things from their house. And my mom gave me a box of, stuff that I probably didn't want her to get rid of when I was younger. But I went through it to see if there was anything that I wanted to keep. And there were so many notebooks of like story ideas that I had put together.
Amazing.
So I think, I've been doing this for a while, and it's a long time before I knew I wanted to do anything with it, but storytelling is definitely in my blood.
Where did the whole idea for this book come from? I mean, were there people you met? Were there things you went through?
So my brother, when I started writing this story, my brother was really in the throes of an extended journey with substance abuse disorder. And this story, I think when I started writing it, I thought maybe I was writing it for him. I wanted to sort of create, a happy ending of some sorts. And as I started writing it, I really learned that this was much more about myself. The story, you've read it. It is really about forgiveness and the families that we're born with and the families that find us and how we find ourselves in all of those things. And so this story was really, for me, in reading it again, I see myself in multiple characters, my experience, on the opposite side of, of loving someone who struggles with addiction. And
sure.
And yeah, so the story was really for him, who, thank God, is about a year into recovery right now.
That's amazing. Wow. Give us a sense, without giving too much away, about what the book is about.
Okay. So quick elevator pitch. Eli is a senior in high school at a very sort of well-to-do community. He has a very wealthy stepfather. He lives in an area where things, are readily available to him. Resources are readily available to him. He's very popular. He's captain of the lacrosse team, but he's developed this sort of secret addiction to opioids. And
sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, early on in the book, he experiences an overdose, and then the story is about his experience in rehab.
It's so interesting because you think, like, as you're painting the picture of him, I'm thinking no one would ever think that he would have this addiction.
Yeah. So, interestingly, early on, when I was first submitting this book to publication, and an editor said that to me, she said, I love the story, but this guy would never have an addiction. And, that is just really a misunderstanding about what opioid use disorder looks like, especially now when prescription opioid use is so prevalent. Anybody, you go to an NA meeting, an AA meeting, and there's no like prescription, character.
Exactly.
It affects anybody.
Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I thought it was so interesting. It's like watching a film and all of a sudden the character unfolds. And it was it was unexpected, but then you think, well, why not? It could be anybody.
Yeah, and sometimes I feel like, you know, I can't speak for my brother, but my perception of part of his journey was, you know, he had two loving parents. He had a family that was really willing to provide resources to help him get through, you know, the various supports that he needed. And sometimes I think that makes it harder because
Right.
maybe there's not so much on the line. You know
Yes.
what
Yeah.
it's certainly different for everyone, but I think especially for Eli, to be at a place where he had so much at stake, and so much, you know, so much to lose, that it would have been harder for him to even admit that he had a problem.
Right. How do you develop your characters? Do they just, I mean, I know for me, because I love to write, do you actually see them and hear the dialogue, or do you map it out? I mean, how does it come to you?
So usually they start talking at some point. And I I shared that with a creative writing student one time, and he was like, that sounds like a mental condition.
Kind of woo-woo. Yeah. No, it's not. You can actually, I get it. Like all of a
Yeah.
sudden somebody walks in the room and it's like a potential love interest, you know?
Yep.
And yeah.
Yep. I hear, you know, I keep I create playlists for my characters. Different songs
Oh,
remind me of
that's
like
good.
scenes that I imagine, or like that reflect different parts of their personality.
Hmm.
Lately, I'm trying to be more deliberate in my character creations, as I'm, you know, really wanting to create worlds that are as inclusive and diverse as the world around me is.
Yes.
I'm beginning to recognize that it's my default to create white blonde characters because that's who I am and that's who I see in my family, and you know, and I think it's important to pay attention to that and to check it and to create worlds that have more more texture
Diversity.
and layer and depth
Yeah,
to them. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah. Oh, how long did it take you to write this book?
Lifeline took me was like 2 years to draft, I think, and then a year to find a publisher, and then we went through a publishing process. I mean, sorry, an editing process
Yeah.
together. So it was probably, I think it was like, you know, door to door, 4 years.
Hmm.
um, this book I'm working on now has taken, I had hoped that it would take less time, but you know, I also have a day job and kids, and so it seems like that's the magic number. 3 to 4
Juggling.
years. Yeah.
What do you do for your day job? Is it anything related to writing?
Yeah. So I, for a long time, I was teaching writing at a college, in a local college in my community. But just last year, I started writing for the marketing department at Children's Hospital of Philadelphia.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. Are you writing something with the same audience involved
I
in going
am.
on?
Yep. Yeah. It's another young adult contemporary novel. Its journey to publication is still a little unclear, so I'm not going to say much about it other
That's
than that.
fine.
It's also about an ordinary kid dealing with an extraordinary challenge, and how she's going to overcome that to sort of accept life as it is.
That's amazing. Any advice for people that are looking to become writers?
Oh, let's see. I just recently attended a virtual writing conference. I'm a member of the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators, which,
Mhm.
first of all, that's one piece of advice: is join a community of other writers. But one thing that I heard over and over again during this conference was the a call to just keep doing it. You
Yeah.
know, over and over again, people were just, all of these authors were saying, like, you know, most of this is perseverance and a little bit of it's luck, but if you're not showing up, the luck can't find you, you
Right.
know. So you just have to keep putting pen to paper. Um and I also think it's important to know why you're doing it. You know what I mean? Like, um I think that if you go into an art form with a goal of becoming famous, let's say, that you just may end up disappointed, right?
Right.
And like, sure, there's a chance. There is a chance that you'll become famous
It's
that
kind of
make,
slim.
yeah, yeah. Um, but if you don't love it, there are other ways to spend your time. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Yes.
Like, if you love it, if you need it, my husband jokes that I get mean when I haven't written
Oh, I
in a
believe
while.
it. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's like the sun comes out when I get to spend time doing this,
Right.
you know? And
Yeah.
so that's why I do it.
It's, it feeds your soul. I mean,
Absolutely.
spending time doing something creative, whether it's guitar, writing, anything, you
Yeah.
feel like you've gone on a mental vacation.
Yep.
And you have to kind of go down these paths and go into these worlds. And then you come out and you're like, wow, what just happened?
Yep. Yeah.
Right?
It's that great, that deep breath feeling of getting to do something that's just really restorative.
How have you been in this pandemic? How are you holding up?
You know, we have been really blessed. Both my husband and I have been able to work from home. So there's been no changes in our employment. My
That's
kids
great.
have been in virtual school, which has been a challenge,
Mhm.
but they are older. They're 12 and 14. So they are,
Yeah.
largely self-sufficient in school. So we're holding up. Our biggest issue is, feeling a little cabin fever, but it's nothing compared to what other people are dealing with now, for sure.
Definitely. Have you encouraged your kids to write in journals? And
I have, it's so funny. My older daughter, she loves collecting journals, but she doesn't write in them regularly. She just likes having them.
okay.
I've noticed that she will write, like she keeps one at my mom's house. And every time we go there, she writes about, this is what we did at Nanny's house this time. So she seems to have different journals for different things.
That's good.
My younger daughter has multiple story beginnings saved on my computer. So,
Mhm.
and they're good. So I have a feeling that she may, delve into that interest a little more as she gets older.
That's amazing. I love it. Anything else you'd like people to know about you before we wrap up?
Um, People are free to check out my website at abbeynash.com. I have one of my favorite things to do is talk about writing with people who love it. And I have lots of free resources there for people who want to practice their writing or get more involved in creative writing. I'd love for people to check that out.
I also will add that it's a great way to process whatever it is you're going through, especially right now,
Yeah.
right?
Yes, that's a
And you
really
can
good
put a
point.
twist and make your real life fiction,
Hmm.
change names, characters, whatever, but it kind of gives you a chance to kind of process and move through things.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a really good point. You could even, you know, even journaling. If you don't have any creative story ideas, you can just show up and put your pen to paper and see what happens.
right. Would you say one of the hardest things about being a writer, as you said earlier, is just persistence and getting up in the morning and believing in yourself when you feel like sometimes you want to throw in the towel?
Yeah, it's time. I just was noticing the other day, you hear all these stories of people that are like, I had so much time during the pandemic. I've learned a new language, or I've, made a quilt or whatever, got my yoga certification. And I was like, I don't feel like I've noticed that much of a difference in my time. Like I'm still squeezing it out of the edges.
Mhm.
And that's a part of this commitment, is being willing to show up every day and give up time that you would ordinarily spend on, your phone or watching TV or whatever. You really have to be willing to give it to this craft.
Yes. Did you ever envision that Lifeline could be a film?
You know, People have said that to me before. Of course, I would love that to be the case. But I don't know. I don't know. I certainly see it play out when I write. I see it play out as images in my head
Right.
for sure.
Yeah, I could definitely see it as a film.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a play or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Give your website one more time.
So it's abbeynash.com, ABBEYNASH.com.
Fantastic. And again, your book is Lifeline. I put it
Yeah.
back up on my show blog, which is getthefunkoutshow.kuci.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. My pleasure.